That's nice.
What's up guys, it's Rev J again. One of the things you'll find out when you get involved in any form of like hot rod building or automotive fabrication or repair or anything like that is that you're gonna need to do welding, which means you're gonna need consumables. Now, there's tons of internet forums that'll recommend welders. Heck, that's how I came onto my Hobart here and I love it. There are lots of great online resources, especially for things like TIG welding with specialized rods and tungstens and stuff like that. So especially once you get into things like shielding gases, you really can't order this online, and depending where you live and what kind of gas you need, it might not be as readily available. Not to mention that in some places, the larger suppliers, Airgas for example, I'm pretty sure they're the largest purveyor in the country, you can't just walk in and ask for a K tank of argon or a K tank of 7525 or CO2 or something like that, because they want you to have commercial accounts with them. And a lot of times there are minimums and pricing structures to go along with that stuff. Now, I needed some refills on some stuff recently, so I decided I'd talk about how I went about finding the place that I work with and why I decided to go with them. Now, this isn't a sponsored video or anything. They didn't ask me to do this. I'm not getting anything for it. These are just the places that I work with, both out of having good experiences with them and local availability. So when I worked a union job, we had an account with one of the larger purveyors of gas. It was easy to just have the truck come by and drop off refills. But when you're a hobbyist, just needing one tank at a time, especially if you don't want to lease the tank from one of those larger companies, or if you own your own tank, it can be a little harder to find somebody to work with. Now, when I order stuff online, I usually go through Welder Supply Company. They're where I buy things like welding helmets, Miller branded consumables, gloves, stuff like that. They're here in Wisconsin, they're reasonably priced. They've always been good about getting stuff shipped out to me. And again, it's buying within my state and it's buying from the US, so that's the way I'm gonna prefer to do it if definitely possible. Locally, for stuff that I need same day or heavy stuff, like obviously tank refills, I go to Advanced Welding Supply. So I got an account with those guys. They never had anything like minimums, buying frequency, credit requirements, any of that stuff. And they usually gave me pretty darn fair prices on any of the consumables that I needed. They were always competitive with anybody locally, and especially when you factor in that I don't have to pay shipping on any of this heavier stuff, it was definitely a great choice for me. Now that I talked about where, let's talk a little bit about what. What kinds of stuff are you gonna go through? We talked about shielding gas. This is 7525, pretty common for MIG welding. So I tend to run 030 wire. It's kind of an in-between size. It's a little larger than some guys like to use for sheet metal repair because of the size, like tack welds. And it's a little smaller than some guys would like to use for some of the bigger structural stuff. But for sort of a hobbyist or an enthusiast shop, I think it's a pretty good all-around size. Because I run this ER70S6, I also run 030 tips. These are from Advanced, and I run the 1/2-inch Miller style nozzles. This is a Hobart, but of course Hobart uses all the Miller style consumables. All the plugs are the same, the gas shielding stuff, it all works the same. So these 1/2-inch nozzles are gonna work great. I will definitely say these 1/2-inch replacements that I picked up, when you compare them to my chunked, worn out nozzle here, this is actually the one that came with my welder, believe it or not. I've been running the same nozzle for probably 4.5 years at least. Now, I'm not using this thing 50 hours a week, so obviously your mileage will vary. The first thing I noticed is that the material thickness on the wall of the nozzle itself is probably at least 25% thicker. This factory nozzle is pretty thin. Some of the consumable stuff that comes to start on the Hobarts is a little cheaper, but because it uses the standard Miller style consumables, you can upgrade to the better quality stuff with no real difference in cost. You're also going to find yourself going through things like welding shields, potentially gloves, abrasives, as well as things like marking supplies. These here are standard soapstones. You guys see these used a ton in fabrication shops. I've got a round one here as well as the square one or the rectangle one. Just broke my round one. And I have holders for these too. Some guys like to use like the mechanical pencil style holders. I keep a couple around for both. This one's just crumbling. But it's always good to keep them around. And on top of that, I also use these. You guys have seen these on any fabrication channel. These are Markall paint markers. I've had pretty good luck with these, and these white Markalls show up on pretty much anything. So in terms of the stuff that I go through frequently in the shop, that's definitely my list right there. ER70S6 030 wire, matching sets of tips, some new nozzles, a full tank of 7525. I've been using it since day one and it's always been great. As well as your marking supplies. Guys, if you're new to welding or new to any of the automotive hobby, you're gonna go through this stuff. I definitely think it's worth a Google to see what local supply shops are available in your area. In my opinion, it's always the best idea to buy from the US when you're using any sort of consumables for this stuff. The consumables aren't that expensive. I wouldn't go ordering any of this stuff off eBay. That's me. You guys might have different experiences. Now, if you guys do a bunch of welding, you're gonna also end up doing a bunch of grinding, especially if you're newer to it. So you're gonna go through a lot of abrasives, and you guys will notice that I left off abrasives in this video. There's lots of videos already online that do great comparisons of things like the Harbor Freight wheels of death, the grinding discs, the sanding discs, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get into that. However, I do have a video coming up soon talking about a very special type of flap disc that I found for doing fillet welds. It's really cool. It definitely changed some of the ways I went about doing things, just made it a lot easier. So I'm definitely going to have that coming up soon. I hope this shed a little light on some of the consumables that you guys might need, especially if you're starting off doing some automotive fabrication or welding or anything like that. I think my setup is pretty typical of the average sort of hobbyist that needs to do this type of stuff. So let me know if you guys want to know anything else. Put it in the comments below. I don't currently have a TIG here, but I can talk a little bit about TIG consumables and stuff if you guys are interested in that. Definitely check out the rest of the videos I have on the Hatred Copter C10, which is sitting right over here, as well as the Rebuild Everything Yukon. Use the hashtag Rebuild Everything on all your houses, cars, all that sort of projects. I'll definitely check out those posts. Check out the build on the Hatred Copter C10 over at the 67 to 72 Chevy Truck forums. Social media is going to be on screen here. Check out all the playlists, check out all the new content, check out all the old content. Just keep checking out the content. Let me know if there's anything you guys want to see in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. That's the rambling point, guys, so that's where it's time for me to end this video. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, guys.